Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be some of the top things about starting your homeschool journey. And this is not a great professional video with a beautiful background, hair, and makeup because I'm a mama in the trenches of homeschooling. And if I could go back and do anything, these are some of the things that I would start out doing with. Number one is meal planning. Meal planning seems to be a big thing. You know, you're used to packing lunches with the kids and then getting it going for the day, or maybe they have a lunch that they do at school and now they're home all day. And what do you do for lunches? What do you do for dinners? How do you make this work? Well, I would say as you're adjusting to this, go with paper plates. Let's do less is more right now and keep things simple. You've made lunches for all these years, just do it again and start there. If I could go back and redo everything, I would have made our big meal be at lunch, and crock pot is my best friend. I would also keep things simple. Keep the meal simple. They really don't have to be super elaborate. They can just be those basic 30-minute recipes that you see all over the place. Now, being gluten-free does make it a little bit more tricky for our family, but it is possible and it is doable. And you know what? For those first couple months here, if you repeat meals often, don't worry about it. The point is you're getting the nutrition you need, and this is for body and mind, right? So that is the purpose of getting food into us. So if we're feeding our minds, we are feeding our bodies, we're going to keep it simple. Now, I was talking about food, but actually that goes into tip number 2, which is keeping your school simple. Yes, you can find what you need for grammar, you can find what you need for history, you can find what you need for science and Bible, and all the subjects that you have to meet, especially where, like we are required to meet a certain number of subjects every year. However, that does not mean that you have to have a curriculum for each subject. It just means you need to meet them. And usually I think that starts at a 3rd, 4th grade level, by the way. I believe. So that, again, just keeping it simple, do what you can with as many subjects as you can. Your main is to keep it simple and use this time as a transition time. So that's my tip number 2, keeping meals simple and keeping your school simple. Tip number 3, seems like kindergarten and preschool, there's a lot of confusion as to what to do, what curriculum to use, how much to do, how little to do, what to do it. All these kinds of things. Seriously, if you need to do something, just keep it simple. These kids up until the age of 7, I believe, 6, 7, kind of depending on your child, they just want to explore. They are learning, they are asking questions. Oh my goodness, are they asking questions? They don't stop asking questions. They're learning that way, and they might take 10 times repeating the same question, or the answer to the same question 10 times, but they're going to learn it. Trust me. There comes a point when they don't ask that question anymore, but you don't need a curriculum to get that thought in their head. Take them outside. Seriously, best thing I ever did was to teach my children to go outside and explore. I didn't realize that I was doing something that was so good for my children until later on in years, and I'm meeting other parents and I'm seeing things that are around me, and this is just something I did naturally, and I didn't realize that I actually did something right in my parenting. Don't worry, there's a lot of things I did wrong. I'm still humble about all this. I'm still learning. Anyway, so take them outside. It's okay. They are going to just observe, see how the clouds are. They're going to ask you, why are the clouds like that? What does it mean when there are no clouds? Does that cloud have a shape to it? Don't worry, they're going to figure it out. And dude, you personally, mamas, this is an opportunity for you to learn, okay? You learned all that stuff in school, but it isn't until that you're teaching it that you start retaining it. So, good opportunity for you. Pull it out. And it's okay to say, I don't know. Let's look that up. You might not want to do that for everything, so if you know what 1 + 1 is, don't say I'm going to look it up. Yeah, I did have somebody do that once. Anyway, so take them outside. If they need some sit-down time, go ahead and say, can you pick up the red crayon and color the rose red? again, I did this naturally throughout all of my children's lives. I didn't teach them colors. I never sat down and said, this is orange, this is red, this is yellow, color the ball blue, color the sun yellow, color the brick red. I never did that. I always was like, hey, can you go hand me that red shirt? Oh, let's wear a blue shirt today. Okay, can you hand me the yellow ball? We need to put that away. And the same thing with learning numbers. I need you to find 2 toys to put away. Find me 6 toys to put away. Okay, you have 5, give me 3. Okay, you have left, go put those 3 over there. You know, that's what I did. And again, some of the best things I ever did. I still felt like I had to have curriculum to teach that. I did not. And to be honest, we didn't use it that much. We didn't need to. They wanted more. They wanted a blank sheet that they could express their own learning on. Speaking of which, you might want to put in a investment in some good quality copy paper, because you'll probably be going through a lot. And then say a prayer over all those dead trees that you're creating. Alright, then the next thing that you can be doing, so that's tip number 3, keep things simple. Up until even at a 1st grade level, you can keep it to the reading, writing, and arithmetic till the grade 3. Just keep things simple, folks. And especially if you are just learning this homeschool journey. I recently read somewhere, I can't remember where. If I remember, I will put the exact quote in down below in the description box with the link to the book, because, anyway, moving on. That a child learns all that it needs to know up in, from high school to college in 3 years. It can learn everything it needs to know to graduate college, or graduate high school and go into college in 3 years. So that means all the years that you have spent when they were younger has been building a foundation, but you haven't messed them up if you haven't gotten to a level that you think you need to be at. Alright, so tip number 4. Housework. That does seem to be another big problem, is that now we have all this housework to do. And to be honest, I'm really not the best one to talk about this, because I end school, a school day with a disaster of a house. But my tip would be just get them involved. After every subject, especially with the little ones, it's like, okay, while the older ones are transitioning to putting stuff away and getting the next subject out, I'm going to take the little ones and we're going to clean this mess up. And to be honest, when I am focusing on something, my whole mind is on that subject. And if the children are safe, it is not whether they are making a mess or not. So sometimes things get a little out of hand. That's okay. We're just going to move with it and deal with it. And then once all the schoolwork is done, then we'll clean. Yeah, Shalise, take a little bit of your own advice there. Duh. And it can be rather messy sometimes. Pillows on the floor and tents everywhere and toys that you didn't even know that you owned all over the floor. It's okay. It's okay. It's really hard to transition from, especially if you've been a stay-at-home mom with not having children around, to being a stay-at-home mom with children around you all day. Suddenly people are living there. There's messes to deal with all day. So the chores, it is what it is. People are living there. It's like having a weekend all the time. And you start learning and you start transitioning, and everybody learns to chip in. They see the mess, they see what they've made, and they're going to realize what it takes for a family to work together and move. Sometimes I wish I could send my kids to school just so that they could come home and see what the difference is. But seriously, that's a very silly reason to send them to school. Alright, tip number 5. Give yourself a whole lot of grace, and even if you think you're messing it up, believe me, it takes a lot to mess a kid up, especially if the heart of every decision you make is rooted in love. So with all those videos that you've been watching, all these thoughts swirling in your head, and all of those stacks of books that are telling you what to do and how to do it and why to do it and everything else, give yourself a cup of coffee and a cup of grace, okay? You can do this, because, again, the core of why you're doing this is rooted in love. You love your child, you want what's best for that child, and that will help you, especially in those very long days ahead. I've had one of those very long days. Yeah. I need to take a little bit of my own advice. So those are going to be my 5 tips for you. Again, these are just for those transitioning from public school to homeschool. I have been helping a mama out who's learning all this, and once I kind of figure out what really helped her, I will try to do a more thorough update video. But to be honest, I have never been in that journey. I was homeschooled, I am now homeschooling, and this has been my first year with dealing with a kid from public school in our homeschool. And so it's only been in the past year that I have seen some of the things that might just be benefit for the mothers out there, but every person has their own story. So again, it's going to take a little bit of time to kind of figure out the best way to take that information and help those out there. But for the rest of you, I really do hope this video was helpful. I will leave any link that I can think of that might be even better helpful for you. I will have a blog post that I'm going to put with this, and it will have some books that I suggest that you read, or if I can find podcasts. Podcasts are fantastic because you can just be making dinner and listening, and it's wonderful. It's fantastic. But I will have those linked down for you below that I really find helpful. And until next time, have a blessed day. Bye.